I want to start with a question, one that's a little uncomfortable. What if one day you wake up and your body is no longer yours, but an ideal version chosen by someone else? Would that still be you? After decades since Kite became one of the most controversial anime of the 90s, Yasuomi Umetsu is finally back. And this time, he's not just bringing action. He's bringing something far more personal and honestly more disturbing. The title is Virgin Punk Clockwork Girl, but there's one thing that immediately caught my attention. This anime is only 35 minutes long, and the rest? A documentary. So what is this really? A movie or an experiment? And to understand why this project feels strange from the very beginning, we need to look at the person behind it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Sci-Fi Junkies.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter.
If you've been watching anime for a while, the name Yasuomi Umetsu probably sounds familiar. He's known for works that are raw, brutal, but still incredibly stylish, and one that really stands out is Kite. And what's interesting is that the themes he explored back then haven't really changed. They're still about control, trauma, and how someone can slowly lose themselves. After being away for quite some time, he's finally back. But this time, he's collaborating with Studio SHAFT, a studio known for its experimental visual style, like in Terry's series. And at that point, I immediately thought, this is going to be a weird combination. Because on one side, Umetsu is grounded, gritty, and realistic. On the other hand, Shaft is abstract, artistic, and sometimes uncomfortable. And Virgin Punk is the collision of those two worlds. And you can feel that the moment the story begins. The story takes place in the year 2099, a world where a technology called Somadea allows human consciousness to be transferred into another body. We follow Ubu Kamigori, a bounty hunter living in a harsh and violent world. At first, it was her choice, but everything changes when she's killed by someone known as Mr. Elegance. Her consciousness is transferred into an artificial body, not someone else's body, but her own, forced back into a 14-year-old version of herself. And from that moment on, her life no longer feels like it belongs to her. She's still hunting, still pulling the trigger, but this time, not as herself. I used to think this was my choice. Hunting, surviving, all of it was up to me. But now, even my own body doesn't belong to me. 1. Themes and message. And this is where Virgin Punk starts to feel uncomfortable. Because this isn't just a story about technology, it's about losing control. Most Android stories are about AI gaining consciousness, like in Blade Runner or Ex Machina. But here it's the opposite. The body is a machine, but the mind is still human. In other words, this isn't about machines becoming alive. It's about humans being turned into objects. And that's far more disturbing. 2. Visual style. Visually, this is something really unique. You can see Umetsu's signature character design, realistic, sharp, and cold. But at the same time, Studio SHAFT brings in their style. Unusual camera angles, bold color contrasts, and framing that often feels off. And somehow it works. The cyberpunk world here doesn't just look futuristic. It feels unstable, like reality itself is breaking apart. 3. Production process. What makes it even more interesting, this is an original story by Yasuomi Umetsu. He deliberately wanted to do something different from typical Android stories. The focus isn't on AI, but on humans forced to exist inside machine bodies. And if you're looking for a close comparison, it's probably closer to RoboCop. He also wanted the action to feel painful, not just stylish, but impactful, something you can actually feel. That's why, even at just 35 minutes, every scene feels dense and intense. 4. Fun fact about Virgin Punk. This part is pretty controversial. A lot of viewers were disappointed because they paid for what they thought was a full movie. But the anime itself is only about 35 minutes long, and the rest, a behind-the-scenes documentary. And honestly, I get why some people felt misled. But on the other hand, if you're an animation fan, this is actually a goldmine. The documentary shows just how insane the quality standards are at Studio SHAFT. Tiny details, constant revisions, and a creative process you rarely get to see this closely. So it's not just watching a movie, it's watching how that movie was created. 5. Theory and symbolism. There's one interesting element. The clockwork, time, control, and force change. There's a theory that Somadea isn't just about transferring the mind, but also manipulating identity. So the question becomes, is Ubu really herself? Or just a version of herself, reshaped by the system? And if that's true, then the real enemy isn't just Mr. Elegance, it's the world itself. Virgin Punk, Clockwork Girl, is not a comfortable watch. It's short, it's strange, and honestly a bit unsettling. But that's exactly what makes it interesting. This isn't just a comeback, it's a statement from Yasuomi Umetsu. And this feels like just the beginning. I'm really curious. Will Ubu remain a puppet? Or will she break the system controlling her? If you're into dark, brutal anime with deeper meaning, this is definitely worth adding to your watch list. And as always, if you enjoy sci-fi anime breakdowns like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because on this channel, we don't just watch, we break things down. Thanks for watching all the way through, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!